Good morning. My name is Bassam160047. I am POM student level 4. So this is the mode of alternative assessment. My ID is 160047. So good morning to my students and my teacher, Miss Sonia, and the second evaluator. The topic is natural gas processing in and H2S hazards. So it will be two main topics. The component of presentation. Actually, there is 4 main components. The first component is about the knowledge and machinery in the industry. Second component, it will be the operation and design. Third component, we're going to talk about the HSE measures and issues. And the last part, I'm going to talk about what I learned in the webinar. So let's get started. So first slide talks about the natural gas processing. So first question, it is what is natural gas? Natural gas, if you ask anyone who works in industry, he will tell you that natural gas is mainly of methane. But the definition, it will be the hydrocarbons that primarily saturated paraffins such as methane and ethane. As you can see, there is ethane, butane, and propane. This is the primary what consists of natural gas. So there is uses of natural gas and application. As you can see, for the application, use it in industry and use it in electrical power and transportation, and also use it in homes. So where does it come from? I'm going to explain in the next slide where natural gas comes from, but mainly it comes from the crude oil, same well that crude oil comes. So mainly you can say it comes from the wells. So as you can see in this structure, we have 3 main parts: production, transmission, and distribution. But theoretically, when you talk about this one, we have upstream. What is upstream? Upstream is usually where we find the natural gas. It comes from the gas wells, then goes to the separation tank, then there is long pipes, then it gets processed through the middle part. Middle part, it's called the middle stream. Middle stream is used for treatment and processing. There is gas processing stations, also field and plants. Then the last part, it will be the consumers, the companies that sell the natural gas. Then it goes to the people who live in home and buildings. So sulfur removal. What is sulfur? First of all, sulfur, it is a toxic gas that presents within the natural gas. It's very toxic, it's colorless, flammable, high flammable, and poisonous. The smell of H2S is like rotten egg. So there is a lot of side effects of H2S that I'm going to discuss in the next slide, but the specific gravity of the H2S is the higher than air, which is 1.19. So amine gas treating, I will explain this one in the next few slides. But amine process, it's like solution to fight for the H2S, because H2S actually spoils the quality of the natural gas. This is the flaring that happens in the oil and gas fields, and this is the sign that says poisonous gas and hydrogen sulfide. So ppm means part per million, but as you can see, this is device that's used to count the H2S, ppm. So each ppm there is meaning and there is hazard for each ppm. At beginning, you can see the eye irritation problem at 10 ppm, but when it increases between 50 to 100, blood eyes, it will happen, and you will feel a lot of chest pain and breathing problem. Then after a few hours, when the ppm increases, most people will die. So the hazard of H2S, firstly, mainly, it's death. So death is the only hazard for the H2S that comes at the last. But before, there is some few side effects. At the beginning, as I told, the eye irritation and breathing and chest pain and etc. So we're gonna continue to the next slide about the amine treating. So amine gas treating, design and operation. This is design operation for the second component of the presentation. So the feed gas enters the system, and this is the output of the sweet gas. So amine, it's sweetening, so it's sweet gas that doesn't has H2S and sulfur, which is used as byproduct. So the higher sweet gas we have, the higher the quality and the higher money we get. So feed enters to the absorber that to remove the H2S and carbon and sulfur. Then after it gets treated, it goes to the sweet gas. But the H2S and carbon, it passes through the regeneration unit when it gets pumped inside. So regeneration unit actually to recover some heat from the turbine, from fluid to another. The regenerator output will go to the heat exchanger. The heat exchanger to transfer heat from one fluid to another. This is the reboiler wants to change the reboiler actually supplies the heat content for the fluid. So sometimes we need some heat content, so it gets to the top of the column, then it goes to the heat exchanger. Heat exchanger uses it to cool the fluid, then it exits as acid gas. And here at the left we have sweet gas, in the middle we have amine tank storage. So this slide talks about HSE. HSE means health, safety and environment. The method to avoid the H2S in the oil and gas, firstly, before any steps, we need to conduct a risk assessment. After risk assessment in the HSE, guaranteeing that there is barrier between people who are working inside the field, which contains the H2S hazards, and people outside, which is far from the H2S hazard. Designing a ventilation system to prevent the toxic gas from contacting the atmosphere. And lastly, this is not very important, but it can be used. It has a high technology, utilizing the purifying reciprocators to make the contaminated toxic gas, to make sure that there is no contaminated toxic gas. As you can see here, this is the person who's working in oil and gas industry. In his field, there might be H2S. So this is the output that they were to prevent the H2S. PPE. PPE is personal protective equipment. Then sometimes we need to use it while dealing with H2S. We have a scuba. Scuba means contained breathing apparatus. And we have a face shield, helmet, and safety coverall, and gloves. And we have scuba, which uses for oxygen supply. Main finding from the webinars. Actually, what I learned from the webinar is difference between hazard and the risk. So hazard is something that causes harm, something that's bad, and risk, it is actually the chance of getting the hazard. So we actually need to focus and understand the hazards and the risk. This is photo which showing some hazard and risk we need to avoid. Even at home, there is some risk while carrying, for example, box, or we have someone slipping from the chair, or cables falling from stairs, and etc. Then golden triangle for transportation. What does it mean? So in transportation, there is three main elements. We have driver, road and vehicle. If one of the elements is missing, it will affect the safety of the transportation. So driver, he must not use the phone and wear seat belt and focus while driving. Also, there is some hazards on the road. Maybe there is wadi. We need to avoid wadi. There is some safety procedure. And the vehicle, anytime before using your vehicle, you need to check the tires and check the engine if there is any issues. So, importance of time management. Time management we'll discuss in the next slide, but time management is the most essential skill that every engineer, anyone also, he needs to acquire. Because without time management, we cannot achieve our goals, we cannot continue the task that we have. So usually engineers deal with a lot of tasks in the job and home and family. So this matrix, it teaches us how to deal with the time management. So we have important and urgent. What do we need to do in this case? We have to do it immediately. Then second scenario, we have important and not urgent. Then we need to decide when to do it. We need to decide, make schedule when we can do it, but also it is important. Then secondly, it is not important but urgent. Maybe you can give someone that can help you to do it, some easy task, but it's not important. And last one, this is the waste of time. We need to eliminate the not urgent and not important. So this is the website that I use to resources for the presentation. Thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you are happy with my performance in the presentation, and we'll be doing Q&A soon. So thank you, Ms. Sonia. Thank you, second evaluator and students who are watching my presentation.